be demonstrating how to make a garter stitch tab for beginning a shawl. A garter stitch tab is made in this area of the shawl, and it provides the base for you to build all of your stitches to either make a triangle shawl, or depending on the type of decreases you use, it could be a semicircle. But we begin by casting on the required number of stitches, and then you cast on at this end. You will knit, knit, knit a tab, a long, thin little piece of knitting, and then you will end up by knitting here. So you will have 2 stitches, or whatever number your pattern calls for, at this end on your needle. Then pick up 1 stitch in each garter ridge along this edge, and then a stitch in each of your cast on stitches, and then you'll be ready to begin your shawl. I'm going to begin my garter stitch tab by casting on 2 stitches. I'm going to use a slip knot, and so I only need to cast on 1 more stitch. I'm using the long tail method. So here I have 2 stitches on. You can cast on in any method that you prefer. I just happen to like the long tail. So now that I have my 2 stitches cast on, I am going to knit every row for the required number of rows. So I knit those 2 stitches. You need to be very careful to count how many rows you knit. So I've just knit 1, and I will turn, and I will knit those 2 stitches again, and I will do that again and again until I get the required number of rows that my pattern calls for. If you are thinking of designing your own shawl, you will know that every 2 rows will give you 1 ridge in your garter stitch, and that's in each ridge is where you will pick up a stitch. So I'll keep going in this manner until, for the pattern I'm working on, calls for 26 rows. I've just finished knitting my 26 rows, or whatever number your pattern calls for, and you can see that each 2 rows of knitting created a ridge in my garter stitch, and I'm going to pick up a stitch in each of these bumps or ridges on my tab. So I have just finished. I still have my 2 stitches that I originally started with, and now I'm going to take what was the right hand needle, and I'm going to go ahead and put that into each of these ridges. So I put my needle into the ridge, into the center of a stitch, wrap my yarn around, drawing it through. So there's one. Come to the next one, put it through, wrap your yarn around and draw a loop through. And I'm going to continue in this manner in every ridge along the long end of my tab. And you can see if I kind of pull it apart, here's the next little ridge. And I'm going to keep going in this manner until I get to the end. Your pattern should tell you how many stitches to pick up. I'm picking up 13 along this end, and I will keep going until I get to the end of the long end. So here I have picked up all of the stitches along the long end. So I have my original 2 stitches that I started with. I picked up 13 stitches along the long end. Now I'm going to turn the tab, and I'm going to pick up 1 stitch in each of my cast on stitches. I don't want you to get too worried about where you pick them up. Just go ahead and insert your needle into, best as you can, what looks like the cast on edge. Really can't go too wrong. And as before, draw through a loop. I've got 1 more to pick up. Draw through a loop. And voila, I have the required number of stitches to start my shawl, and it will build up and work out from there. Happy knitting!